Hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today we are going to be working on Hambone again. Yeah, the truck has finally got a name, the official name, Hambone. I know what you're saying. That's the most stupid name I ever heard in my life, and that's okay. I don't care what you think. It don't matter to me. Ladies and gentlemen, me Hambone. Hambone, where you been? Around the world and going again. Yes, sir. Anyway, one of the things that I'm having a problem with is there are things I don't like about it. You know, that's just how life is, right? So here's one of the things I don't like. I'm gonna show it to you right now. I want some running boards, Nerf bars, whatever you want to call them, side steps. You can call them what you want to. The ones that I got are actually, I believe, called Nerf bars, although I call them side steps or running boards, because I'm an old guy from South Georgia, and that's just how we roll, period. Anyway, the FedEx guy came in, and he had the parts, and I'm like, just bring them in the foyer. That way I can pre-assemble them inside, because it's, right now, the heat index is around 102, so it's pretty warm outside. And then, of course, I get inside, I do a little editing, I'm working, and I get a knock on the door from my neighbor. He had a flat tire, just finished changing his tire, just put on some dry clothes because I was sweating like a pig. And now, I try to go in the front door, it's locked. What in the world is going on? And now it's time to unbox these things and see what they sent me. I ordered the big ones, the big 5-inch Nerf bars, because I want something good and beefy out there. It gives me a little more of a platform. It's not because I'm old and can't step into the truck. What it is you've noticed on a driver's side seat, you see it where people slide in and they damage the seat over there. I just really don't want to prematurely do that. I really don't. So I'm gonna get these Nerf bars, I'm gonna get them assembled in here as much as I can. I'll show you what we got. I didn't go cheap. I got the Westons. They're really, really nice. So let's unbox them and see if they got damaged in shipping. That's always my biggest fear. So let's get these things opened up and see what we got. They're not too incredibly heavy, I will say that. That's a good thing, because I really didn't feel like, you know, killing myself picking the box up. Get the official unboxing now. Let's see what we got. All right, let's check these bad boys out. All right, well, they appear to be boxed up pretty well, so that's a good sign. I know we'll have a box of hardware, a box of little brackets and covers, and then the bars themselves. Looks like the bars are individually packed, which is really nice. All right. Big heavy-duty brackets. Directions, might need those. This little cover for the brackets, toss that over there. Bag of goodies, and our 6 pieces. Well, let's see these bad boys and see what they look like. Now, I debated on whether to go with stainless steel or black, but I opted with the stainless steel. And I went with the nice wide ones. Oh, they look really nice, man. Woo, woo. Man, those are sweet. Look at that, man. Get this out of the way. Now, a lot of you guys are probably out there wondering, does Coach Vic go crazy with him just throwing stuff all over the house? Yes, he does. Here's the other one. Nice, 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 nice. Now, I'm not worried about the packaging on these, because I can tell you, if you're too stupid to know your left from your right, you got big problems. But I'll do it wrong, I'm sure. Always do. Anyway, looks nice. Looks very, very, very nice. All right, get this out of the way. The rest of the stuff. Woo. All right, so I got a bunch of dang parts. I'm going to start doing a little comparison here. See if they have any markings on them. It has an A, a letter A. Letter A. So those are identical. Oh! This is different. It's mirrored. This is a D. D. All right. So now we have this, which is also a D. So D, D's, 2 A's, and this is the one that's weird. This is the B. Now this B is different. Yeah, sure is. Okay. All right, I got a little towel on the table because if I scratch my new table, I'm gonna be upset. Basically, you have these brackets here, and these brackets, this hole is going to attach to this bracket here, like that. And that is going to give you 3 functioning holes for mounting, here, here, and here. And there are studs that are already in the truck that will line up with those 3 holes. So what I have to do is pre-assemble these. All 6 of them go the exact same way, regardless of what bracket number they are. They all use the same mounting hardware. It all goes into the same place. It's simply, all right, so I've sorted through all the parts, all the nuts and the screws are here. Not gonna go through every nut, bolt, and all that stuff. But basically, every big bolt comes with a washer and a lock washer. You wanna make sure all your parts are here, that kind of stuff. But here's how this is gonna work. This is the type of bolt that goes through this thing. You can see it has the little square piece on it right here. And that's what keeps it from spinning when you drop it in this little square hole. That's what keeps it from spinning so you can tighten it up. Then it just drops through here, curve going towards the bracket, a washer, a lock washer, and a nut. Every one of these, all 6 of them are going to be exactly the same. So I'm not going to make you sit through watching me put 6 of these together. But suffice it to say, if you've seen one, you've seen one. Right, well, after review of the directions, and I've read them multiple times, I'm pretty attentive to detail. A lot of times when they just leave a word out, you understand that they're not referring to both sides, they're referring to one side. What they have done is they have clearly defined what is to be done on the passenger side. On the driver's side, the rear bracket, it just says the rear location install mounting bracket D. So I'm assuming that D, because it didn't say left or right side, would mean both sides. A went in the middle on the passenger side and B went on the front of the passenger side. So I'm assuming that the other side is probably DAD and this one is DAB. We'll find out when we get out there. That's for doggone sure. All right, every nut, every bolt is present and accounted for. So we'll go through it as we put it together. I needed a 13mm wrench to put this bracket on here. I used a 13mm, just a little hand wrench. Yes, you can use a socket if you want to do it faster. And it appears to me, yes, it's going to be a 13 where we put the boards at, or we put the brackets on the truck as well. So 13mm wrench, 13mm socket. I'm going to use a deep dish socket probably out there because I have a feeling I'm going to need it. I think that stud's pretty long. If I got a 13mm deep, if not, I'll be doing it the old-fashioned way. All right, everything's accounted for. If the brackets, if I figured them in the proper location, should go down pretty easy. I guess we're about to find out. So let's get out in the 100-degree heat, crawl around in the dirt, and see what we can see as we lay up under a hot pickup. You can see the 3 sets of studs right there. There are 3 sets right here. In the back, there's another set of 3. And it's the exact same way on the other side, just mirrored. And you can see why the brackets have to be a little bit different because of that. So let's see what the brackets look like. All right, so the rear bracket over here is D. Now, all right, these bottom 2 posts have paint on them, and everybody says they can be a little cantankerous getting started. If you have thread cleaner or something like that, you know, like a little dye kit, you can clean them off. What I am going to do is, it's just something that I do. I'll grab a little rag with some fingernail polish remover, and I'll just spin it around there a few times, and it'll soften that stuff right up. The top one doesn't have it on there, but the bottom 2 do. So I'll get the top one started pretty well with my fingers all the way down. They tell you not to tighten this stuff all the way up, so I'm just going to leave it loose like that, finger tight. I'm going to go get me some fingernail polish remover, and I'm going to go ahead and do all the studs on this side. And I'm not going to take all the paint off of it. I'm just going to kind of get out towards the edge where it starts out, and I'll let the nut just take most of it. Now, as most people know, fingernail polish remover is basically acetone. I used to work at a boat manufacturing plant. We used acetone for everything, but you don't want to do what I just did. You don't want to be bumping into stuff with it because you can damage your paint pretty, you know, to a point to where it ain't gonna work. And this may not work depending on what type of coating this is. If this is a powder coat, it may not work, but we'll see. All I need to do is just thin it out a little bit. Looked like a little bit came off on the rag. And all I need to do, like I said, all I need to do is just soften it up. I don't need to do a whole lot. All right, let's see if that did it enough to get me going. And if it did, Again, go right over the stud, you put a washer, a couple of Harleys riding down the road, lock washer, and then your nut, which is a 13 mil. That softened it up a little bit. I could feel it in my hand. All right, we'll get my socket wrench. Let's put something on this. And as with everything, you just don't want to kill it. You make sure you're not cross-threading, because if you cross-thread it, you'll be cussing. That feels nice and smooth. Look at the threads as I start it. Everything feels good. Like I said, the paint, be nice if I had a die set. I did, but I loaned it to somebody, and you know how that goes. You loan stuff out, and it rarely finds its way home. Well, I don't think you want to sit here and watch me turn this thing for about 5 minutes, so I'll give you a break, and I'll bring you back when I get these. All three brackets are exactly, they go on exactly the same way. The big thing, you got to remember, D is at the back, A is at the middle, B is in the front. This is on the passenger side, and I'll get them all on here. All right, now these brackets went in perfectly. Then the brackets hang down. There's just holes in the bottom of this where you just run 2 Allen hex screws in there, and that's all there is. So they're solid, they're mounted on this side. I'll do the other side here in just a little while. But anyway, won't bore you with the other side. I will bore you with telling you what order the brackets go in on the other side, because that's the most important thing. These are the little covers that cover the bar, and they just slip in from the back. Very, very simple. You slide them in place, you run a couple of screws through them, and that's it. And that's all that holds those in place. Then they look like that, as opposed to just that bare bracket. So I'm going to screw these in place. I don't think you need to watch that, because if you do, you're not too bright. No, you're probably a genius. You're probably a lot smarter than I am. Anyway, I got to screw these things in. I'm running out. All right, so the installation is done. It was exactly as I showed you. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the bolts that were used, and one thing that I did that I ended up taking this piece, those mounts back off, and then re-putting them back on. Within your packet of parts, there were 18 little plastic squares, and those plastic squares are not mentioned anywhere in these directions. Now, years ago, I installed a set of running boards on a Jeep, and what it did is when you would drive down the road, it would make weird noises as the metal vibrated against the body. And so I ended up taking old inner tube parts and cutting it up and making shims in order to mount the running board to the side of the Jeep. So it dawned on me that's what these pieces of plastic were for, and there was 18 of them. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 on the other side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to crawl under the truck. I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like, so that when you do this, you won't have that problem and put something together and then take it apart. And then we're going to talk which brackets go where, was it what I thought originally, and we're going to talk torque specs. So let's crawl under this thing and show you what we've done. All right, so this is the back bracket on the passenger side. This is bracket D, D as in Delta. You'll see right here, a little piece of plastic sticking out. My wife's closing the ramp van over next to me, making noise. We'll let that finish. But this piece of plastic right here goes behind this bolt, this bracket. Goes behind the bracket, between the bracket and the metal of the body of the vehicle. It goes behind that one, behind this one, and behind that one. And those are repeated on every one of these. Every one of these.
Hi, Coach Bob. Hi, Coach Bob. Hi, subscribers.
Hey, Coach Vic. How you doing?
Just a quick little hello. Okay.
All right. And these are the nuts and bolts that hold this little plastic cover on, as I was telling you about. Every one of these is exactly the same as far as the way they mount in. The one thing that is different is which brackets go where. So let's do passenger side first. D is on the back. Bracket A is in the middle. Bracket B is in the front. So again, passenger side, bracket D, bracket A, bracket B. Let's go to the driver's side. Now the driver's side is exactly what I had anticipated it would be. It was D in the back, A in the middle. Oh, check out the dragonfly, landed on me. And D in the front. So D, A, D. Dad on the driver's side. Looks exactly the same under the vehicle. So let's talk about mounting and torque. I'm going to show you the bottom side of this so that you can see exactly what it looks like, but it really is self-explanatory. Once the brackets are mounted on there, there's just 2 holes in each of the brackets. You set the running board on top of it. You run 2 Allen screws up through the running board itself, up into the running board itself. But let me show you anyway. So this is from the ground looking up. So you've got 1, 2 of these hex screws. You get over to here, there's the middle one, 2 hex screws. At the back, 2 hex screws. So let's talk turkey, let's talk torque specs. Now the torque specs, you know, whenever you do anything, if you're like me, you really want to do it right. And so you want to have the proper torque settings on every bolt that you put in. Now, when I was a young man, I didn't use torque specs, and I broke a lot of bolts, and I made quite a mess of things. I have a torque wrench. I ended up going out and buying a new torque wrench because I just didn't trust it. It was old, and I felt like I was really putting a lot more pressure on there than I felt like I needed to. Now, it would have been very simple for them to just simply put in the diagrams for each bolt and tell you that bolt gets torqued to this and that bolt gets torqued to that, but that is not what they did. They told you the type of bolt it was, and then they would tell you within that type of bolt what the torque specs were. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you just a clear picture so that you can see on the actual unit what the torque specs are. So let's start with the hex screws, and these were the ones that really surprised me. These things right here are the heaviest torque spec of everything, 30 foot-pounds. 30 foot-pounds of torque on these. These are the M10s. These are M6 fasteners, and they are torqued to 5 to 7 foot-pounds of torque. 5 to 7. Every other thing on this are these, the M8s. And every one of those are torqued 15 to 18 foot-pounds of torque. So let's talk about the tools that I used. All right, so there are very few tools that are needed for this job. For the plastic covers, it's a 10 mil. I used a 10 mil obviously to hold one side and a 10 mil socket to tighten down the other side. Very, very simple on that. The Allen screws, this is what they provide for you. Now they want 30 foot-pounds on these. There's no way you're not going to get 30 foot-pounds on this unless you break your hand. So this thing is just simply to get them lined up and get them started, then get the proper tool for the job to tighten it up. And the proper tool is an Allen 6. It's a 6. It's a metric, of course. So a 6 is the Allen socket that you need for that to put it down to 30 foot-pounds. Every other bolt on here is a 13. So I used this to get them started, this to put them on, and then I used my torque wrench to set them to the proper specs. So a 10 and a 13 as far as your sockets and your open end wrenches, and a 6 Allen head. That's all there is to it. It was a very easy install. The only problem I had was where I put those 3 brackets on and then I took them back off to put those plastic pieces in there. Other than that, it went without a hitch. And had that been mentioned anywhere on the directions, I wouldn't have missed that. But I reread the directions and they weren't mentioned anywhere at all. All right, so let's take a look at it and then we'll close this thing out. Well, where I come from, in the afternoon, you like to sit on the tailgate, have a nice cool beverage, and appreciate your hard work. You know, I've got the yard all cleaned up. The running boards are installed on ham bone, and things are going well. All right. Well, I'm going to chillax for a while, so do me a favor until next time. Go out, buy the motorcycle or the truck of your dreams, eat right, take care of yourself, And remember, if you're not having fun, you are doing it wrong. Now you go seize the day. I'll see you on the road real soon.